Was Help to Buy truly a lifeline for a lost generation of homeowners, or was it a brilliantly disguised trap that secretly poured billions into the pockets of powerful developers? What you were sold as a helping hand was actually a ticking financial time bomb, and the full extent of the scheme's financial devastation is only now being revealed. The government handed out £30 billion to supposedly solve the crisis, yet that money achieved the opposite, enriching the corporate elite and leaving thousands of buyers financially boxed in. We're going to expose how the entire system was rigged from day one, detailing the mechanics of the deception and revealing the shocking £70 million payoff received by just one CEO. This is the untold story of a broken promise. When Help to Buy launched, it sold itself as the solution to plummeting home ownership among young people. The promise was simple and irresistible: the government would loan you up to 20% of the property's value, entirely interest-free for 5 years, meaning you only needed a 5% deposit and a 75% mortgage. It looked like a brilliant shortcut onto the ladder. But here's the shocking truth that was intentionally buried. Help to Buy was never designed to make homes cheaper. It was a political and economic tool to prop up the entire housing market and, most importantly, maintain the profits of big corporate developers. The single, crucial detail most people missed was the fine print. It only applied to new-build homes, excluding the entire resale market. This wasn't an accident. It was a strategic economic decision that instantly created a ready-made, captive customer base with artificially inflated purchasing power, directed straight into the order books of the major house builders. They weren't competing for buyers; the government was delivering the buyers directly to their door. The builders could rely on a steady, massive stream of government-subsidized buyers, guaranteeing sales volumes even if the underlying economy was struggling. This removed all competitive pressure to build smaller, genuinely affordable homes or to innovate on price, allowing them to focus purely on maximizing their margins. It set the stage for one of the greatest transfers of public wealth to private developers in recent history. Developers knew buyers were walking in with a 20% government loan in their pocket, and they took full, ruthless advantage. They didn't lower prices to meet the buyers halfway, they raised them. This is the developer premium, and it was one of the core, predatory features of the scheme. Why would a developer sell a flat $4.200,000 when the government was effectively underwriting a sale at $240,000? That $20% equity loan made people feel like they were spending less of their own money, when in reality, they were just borrowing more from a different source, the government. Analysts soon found that new builds sold under the scheme were priced 10% to 15% higher than equivalent second-hand properties just down the road. They could get away with this because the buyer's main concern was the size of their monthly mortgage payment, not the true market valuation of the property itself. The government's loan distorted the buyer's sense of value. It's the equivalent of a store giving you a $50 voucher, but then quietly hiking the price of the item you want from $200 to $250, so the voucher achieves nothing but maximizing the store's profit. For the developers, this was a flawless business model: guaranteed sales volume, maximum price inflation, and zero risk. The buyer, blinded by the initial low deposit and the $0% interest rate, simply signed the papers, unknowingly locking themselves into an asset that was instantly overvalued, a hidden financial vulnerability that would come back to haunt them exactly 5 years later. And the coming crash would shock everyone. This is where the Help to Buy promise turned into a cruel financial nightmare. The developers and the government knew exactly when the financial pain would start: the moment the interest-free grace period ended. That 5-year mark was a ticking time bomb for thousands of homeowners. After that deadline, the government starts charging interest on the equity loan, beginning at 1.75% and then increasing every single year by inflation plus 1%. For many, the timing couldn't have been worse. The interest shock often coincided with other major life events: starting a family, job market uncertainty, or, most brutally, the post-2021 surge in mortgage rates. Suddenly, that free 20% loan was costing hundreds of pounds per month on top of an already stretched and massively expensive mortgage payment. This increased their monthly financial burden by 20% or more, often without any increase in income. The trap was set perfectly. Buyers were financially leveraged to the hilt, and now their government partner was demanding a steadily increasing share. For the buyer, there was virtually no way out. They were forced to either pay the rising interest, which rapidly became unaffordable, or attempt to pay off the 20% equity loan by selling or refinancing. But when they tried to escape, they discovered something truly devastating. If homeowners tried to escape the rising debt by selling the home, they discovered something truly nasty that the developers had hidden. Their property hadn't gone up in value as anticipated. In many cases, it had gone down. The moment the new build paint dried, and the developer sheen wore off, those flats and houses dropped back to their true market value, often $20,000, $30,000, or even $40,000 lower than the original inflated purchase price. This created a situation of negative equity the moment the interest payments kicked in. Because they bought at an artificially inflated price using the government subsidy, the property's value was instantly lower on the resale market where the HTB scheme couldn't be used again. Buyers were trapped. They couldn't sell the house to pay off the equity loan because the sale price wouldn't cover the original 75 to 80% mortgage plus the 20% government share. They couldn't easily remortgage or refinance because the home's value was too low compared to the loan amounts. This wasn't just a minor loss. For many, it became a financial dead end, forcing them to either default or desperately rent out the property, only to find the rental income barely covered the combined mortgage and equity loan interest charges. The latter they were sold had been replaced by a financial treadmill designed to benefit everyone except the buyer. Help to Buy was a masterclass in psychological manipulation. The government's involvement created an overwhelming illusion of safety. Surely if the state is involved, the investment is secure. This masked the high-risk reality of a shared equity gamble. In a traditional mortgage, you build 100% of the equity. With Help to Buy, you only ever owned 80% at best. The government owns a percentage of your home, not a fixed cash amount. This mechanism is devastating. If the value of your property goes up, you owe them more money, paying them a portion of your capital gain. If it goes down, you're still on the hook for the full mortgage amount, but you're now sitting in negative equity while the government still owns its percentage stake. This silent partner is guaranteed to make a profit or, at worst, share your losses on a better footing, yet it never contributed to maintenance, service charges, or risk. It's what financial experts call transferring risk from institutions to individuals. You bear all the stress, maintenance costs, and market uncertainty, while your non-contributing partner gets a guaranteed piece of the upside. It fundamentally reshaped the concept of home ownership, turning the buyer into a high-risk guarantor for developer profits and a cash cow for the state. This wasn't just about individual financial distress. The Help to Buy scheme broke the entire housing market. By concentrating $30 billion of buying power into new builds, HTB created an artificial, localized spike in demand, completely detaching new build prices from the true value of surrounding properties. It was like blowing up a balloon in one small corner of the room, leaving the rest deflated. Developers responded by focusing exclusively on what fit the scheme: easily mass-produced, high-margin units, tiny, cookie-cutter flats and small starter homes. They weren't incentivized to build more diverse, genuinely affordable, or family-sized homes because the guaranteed profit was in the subsidized market. This had two major negative effects. First, it created a massive oversupply of identical, low-quality flats in urban centers. Second, because prices were inflated by the developer premium, non-subsidized buyers, those who couldn't use the loan or who needed a larger home, were pushed entirely out of the market. The entire structure of new construction was distorted, failing to solve the actual supply crisis while artificially pumping up prices for the benefit of developers. The scheme's termination was inevitable, but the resulting fallout would be market-wide. Let's be honest, who actually walked away smiling from Help to Buy? It wasn't the first-time buyers. The real winners were the big house builders: Barratt, Taylor Wimpey, Persimmon. They became flawlessly engineered corporate machines designed to capitalize on government demand. The moment the scheme launched, their stock prices and profit margins exploded. The government's backing meant buyers weren't price-sensitive anymore, freeing developers to raise prices again and again. For example, Persimmon, one of the main beneficiaries, saw its average selling price for a home jump from under $180,000 in 2013 to over $240,000 by 2020. Their profits soared so high that they paid their CEO a $70 million bonus in 2018 alone, a sum that is utterly shocking when contrasted with the negative equity faced by the customers buying their flats. Mortgage lenders also won big because when prices go up, so do loan sizes, meaning more interest revenue for them with zero exposure to the equity risk. Even the government won politically, using glowing photo opportunities and statistics to claim they were solving the housing crisis without having to spend money on actual social housing. Everyone in the property chain was profiting handsomely except the people who were supposed to be helped. The Help to Buy scheme finally closed to new applicants in March 2023, but the financial wreckage is still being felt today. Thousands are still holding on to homes bought at highly inflated prices that the market simply won't accept without the government subsidy. In places like London, Manchester, and Birmingham, thousands of HTB flats now flood the listings, unsold. Why? Because the next wave of buyers can't afford the same valuation, and they can't use the scheme to justify the price. The result is stagnation. Homeowners are forced to lower their asking prices by tens of thousands just to get an offer, or they are stuck renting out properties where the income barely covers the combined mortgage and equity loan interest charges. Help to Buy was never about helping people. It was a short-term political and economic fix designed to prop up a broken system with shiny packaging and emotional marketing, transferring catastrophic financial risk from corporate institutions to individual families. And now, a generation is learning the hard way that government help doesn't always mean safety. The price of that help was getting financially boxed in, unable to move, unable to remortgage, and unable to escape.